Hello and welcome to everybody listening. This is Balancing the Act, a podcast that focuses on how you manage your job and make sure you travel. In this podcast, you will hear stories from people who were willing to take a leap of faith and believe in their ideas. Each podcast will leave you educated and leave you with a unique life lesson.
Hello and welcome to Balancing the Act. So we spoke to Akash on hacks on how to get the best local food and buy spices in Kashmir. Moreover, on how to be a traveler and not be a tourist. Today I am with solo Goan traveler Yashodhara that takes on the world all by herself. She is a traveler by heart and started traveling with her family first and then learned to do it by herself. A publicist by profession and her Instagram handle is Daydreams and Travel. So let's take it from your daydreamer, Yashodhara.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Yashodhara. Since this is a good Sunday morning that we're talking at, I want to know your Sunday thoughts on how you think the world is and how you are doing basically today.
This Sunday, the world is a bit slow.
Correct.
I think a lot of our Sundays have been a bit slower than usual, but I think that is something the world is learning how to deal with.
Correct.
Because this year might be a bit slow as well, especially for travel lovers like you and me. And actually, this might just give us the opportunity to focus more on the city that we actually live in and learn a lot more about the city that we live in because we might not get to travel outside as much.
What do you think anyone should do in Bombay? And give me some thoughts of what you are planning to do after the pandemic opens up.
So, like you said, that I am from Goa. When you grow up in such a small place, I know Goa is really popular. But at the end of the day, it's a very, very small place to grow up in. And when you move to a city like Bombay, it gets a bit chaotic. It can be a lot for someone like me. But I am going to just continue doing what I have been doing in the last 4 years, is that whenever I have a weekend to me or some free time, try and explore the city a little bit.
Given that Bombay is very rich in its heritage, what did you like or what did attract you towards Bombay? Like you being from Goa, what was the first thing that you enjoyed watching in Bombay and visiting?
So there are a couple of things that I like about any place that I visit. I like the art, the vibe of the city, and I like discovering the city's heritage. One of my favorite streets in Bombay is Yashodhara Roy in Bandra. And I love the graffiti on the walls there, whether it's the filmy artwork by Bollywood Art Project or even the graffiti that you would see by this artist called Tyler Street Art. My friend had actually recommended his page to me because he draws so much influence from Banksy, and I really, really loved the vibe in that area. I love South Bombay because obviously it's full of old buildings and it feels like every single building, even if it looks like it's about to crumble, it has so many stories to tell. I had a friend from Goa who was visiting me a few months back, and from doing something very touristy, we suddenly ended up in this lane called Kotachi wadi, which is near Girgaon Chowpatty, and it's close to Kamatipura. It's just this old lane and it has an old chapel and it's full of this East Indian, very Goanish vibe, which we really loved. And we were just randomly strolling the lanes. Even food, I think some of my favorite places to eat in Bombay are the old iconic Parsi cafes. I love Jimmy Boy. I love the restaurants in Muhammad Ali Road. I think Noor Mohammadi Hotel is something that I recommend to every friend of mine who loves eating non-veg. Just for the kebabs and the Sanju Baba chicken, which is full of tail and masala. That is epic. So I think you get to learn so much about the city through these old gullies. And I think that's what I really like about Bombay.
So because you are from Goa, I think you would definitely love beaches. And now that the beaches are much more cleaner than they were before, what beaches do you like to visit in Bombay? Can you tell us some good beach experience that you had?
In Bombay, I'll be very honest, in the last 4 years, the only place I visited which is sea facing would be the usual Worli Sea Face or Narman Point. I've not actually gone to a beach, whether it's the Versova beach or even the Girgaon Chowpatty I've been, but I've not gone to the actual beach because I always felt that I'll be disappointed. I still go to places like I still like going to a bandstand just for an evening walk or just to chill for a bit. But obviously, being from Goa, I think I'll be disappointed if I go to a real beach here in Bombay.
So,
So I haven't been.
so because your expectations are so high from the beach, I want to know in Goa, if someone from Bombay goes to Goa, what beach do they visit to fall in love with Goa, like you are in?
I love Mandre. I love Kola Beach in Kankan. It has a very different vibe, especially in the evenings. And I love the Sikeri Beach because it has a great fort view. There's just something about the Sikeri Beach. It's not your typical sandy beach, but there's just something about it that makes it really stand out. I used to love this beach called Little Vagator. This was a very, very local beach in Goa when I was growing up. And jokes aside, there would be only fishermen on that beach or cows. But only last year I went back and I got a big shock because for the first time in my life, I saw a couple of shacks on that beach. I saw tourists on that beach and I just couldn't recognize that place. It was one of those empty beaches and just perfect, like for a group of friends to go and sit and chill.
Correct. As you mentioned, all these beaches, I think I've gone back to my memories of Goa, and even I have visited a few of them. I think Kola is one of personal favorites as well. But the way to Kola is another adventure in itself because the roads are not
Completely
on point. If you're going on a scooter or something, it's like adventure sport to reach the place, I feel. But
I agree. But I love the ride on the road, not going to Kankan.
Correct. The road is good, but at the end, the last 2 kilometers to reach the beach, I think that is something that someone needs to know before he reaches there. It shouldn't come as a surprise. What would you give me more about Goa that no one knows of Goa? And if you would take me somewhere, where would you take me in Goa? So the insider thing into Goa.
You're right about the Kola beach area and stuff. And I think the South Goa hilly beaches are a bit difficult to go to. But in the last couple of years, there have been parking spots made specially. These are not beaches you should actually drive down to. I think that's why Goans love bikes. It also causes a little less commotion if you are on a bike. But if I have to take you somewhere to Goa, I would probably take you around Panjim on a food trail, just taking you through all the places that I have grown up around. Whether it's having like sausage pulao in George Bar, which is near the Panjim Church, and I don't think it's a very touristy place because it looks like a very shady pub. But they have, I think, the best sausage pulao ever. I would take you to the old Ritz, not the Ritz Classic that is like iconic for fish thali, and I think a lot of people have heard about it by now because they have multiple chains. But there's an old Ritz in Panjim, which is like a small gado, like a small shutter wala shop, which has like one table, and they make some of the best seafood in Panjim. And yeah, of course, there are the iconic Portuguese restaurants like Benit and Viva Panjim. So if you're with me in Goa, I think we'll just be eating a lot.
So when I did visit Goa for the last time, like in December, I ate a dish called roast omelette. And that blew my mind. Yeah, it's curry and egg, but it was yummy. It was on the street. It was not very expensive. It was like around 20 rupees or something, which is not even like $50 to any international traveler. But it was too good in what it tastes. So any other unique dishes?
So roast omelette is something which is such a humble dish, but it's just elevates when you're eating it. So Goa has a very famous curry called shakuti. It's this spicy coconutty curry, and roast omelette is nothing but leftover shakuti curry with an omelette soaked in that curry, and it's just perfect. And in terms of street food, rishois or sausage rolls, very different from the UK sausage rolls, I must tell you, because this is all with Goan choris and pork pies. These are the kind of things that every Goan kid has grown up eating, and these are the kind of things that will also come to your house during festivals like Christmas or anything. But I must say that I'm extremely partial towards cutlet pav. It's my favorite thing to have. And even in cutlet pav, by the way, between this humble bread, they soak it in with a little bit of curry, shakuti gravy. I think shakuti is a very classic gravy in Goa. So they soak the bread a bit and then they stuff it with the patty or the cutlet that is made.
So the
Yummy.
shop I went to also did something very similar, but it added like a lot of onions, I think Tabasco sauce, and think Tabasco, tomato ketchup, and onions, and they blended it finely together, and they added the beef steak and gave it to me. I think even that was something that
Beef
was
steak.
different.
What you're describing is probably like I'm sure it sounds delicious, but this is not a very typical cutlet pav. Cutlet pav is this, it's usually beef, but I think they make fish cutlets and chicken cutlets also now. But it's basically like beaten meat and deep fried in semolina, rubber, and obviously with flavor. And literally they do not need anything else. And I've never heard of any local guy serving Tabasco for sure. So this guy must be innovative.
This is December of 2019, so I think they have upped their game, Yashodhara. And because you are a solo traveler, where can one go and feel safe in Goa?
So this is something that I actually have a trouble addressing because I'm on a lot of traveler groups, especially with solo female travelers, and I know there's this image with just solo female travelers coming to India. But I think it's true for any girl when she's traveling alone or even with company to be anywhere in the world. Just be a little cautious. Don't go partying with strangers that you've just met, right? And I think at the end of the day, the first thing that you have to be is be a little cautious and make sure simple things like, when you're visiting a new city, even whether it's a travel hostel or a hotel, make sure you have the right kind of details with you. Make sure you have some phone numbers handy. These are basic tips that I personally follow no matter where I go. And I would say that the same rules apply for any girl in India or in Goa. So I think Goa in general is a much safer place. It's very easy to rent a scooter and explore the state in one whole day. Obviously, Goa is really famous for its nightlife and party scenes. But my only advice would be is that if you're doing that, then go with either someone you know, or if you meet like-minded people at your hostel, go in a group so you feel safer.
So what are the most important lessons you have learned during your trips, even in Goa and elsewhere? Can you shed some light on how it has changed you as a person?
I think the biggest thing that I have learned as a traveler, and that I would apply to my life as well, I'm a big planner. Especially since, like you mentioned, I started traveling alone. I make notes of where I have to go to eat, what I have to do in a certain place, and I keep scribbling a lot. What I have learned is that sometimes, no matter how much you plan, the plans might not go your way. The itinerary you made might be extremely detailed, but things might change, and you have to be a little spontaneous, and you have to be a little spontaneity and cautious have to go together hand in hand. And that is something that I like to apply in my life as well, because whether just like an itinerary I made might not go my way, things in life don't go our way, right? And sometimes it's important to remember that if you travel alone, I think it gives you the confidence that you can survive. And you might not be strong enough for everything in life, but I think you get that kind of confidence that you will be able to survive difficult times. Like, you'll be able to handle it. And I think that's why what I would take out as a life lesson from my solo traveling.
And for anything, if you want to reach out to Yashodhara, her Instagram handle again is Daydreams and Travels, and she is happy to address your queries on a personal DM.
Yes, thank you so much. I love connecting with travelers, and thank you, Kevin. And next time you're in Goa, tell me, I'll give you a list of all the places you can have sausage pulao at.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. So like always, with each new experience we grow, and look at Yashodhara, all set to conquer the world. Love speaking to you about Mumbai's food, stories, followed by undiscovered Goan beaches, a food tour that I'm yet to devour, and most of all, the Goan sausage pulao that will haunt me till I don't go back to Goa. I hope female solo travelers benefit from what they've heard and are cautioned by your advice.
This podcast is brought to you by BagpackerMe, Instagram handle @BagpackerMe. Follow, share.